Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you're at Daybreak Stitchery, which is my Flosstube channel. This is a channel all about cross stitch, and it's the end of the month, which is when I pop on and just show you what it is I've been working on during the month. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thanks for being here. And if you're new, thank you for being here too. I just love talking about cross stitch, so, and as usual, I have tons to show you. I guess we'll get right. Well, no, usually I don't really do any like life update kind of things because I don't really have much of life because I'm a teacher and I just work all the time during the school year. But we actually did a whole bunch of really fun autumn things this month. It's been a really spectacular month, both for just fun and stitchy. It's been a great stitchy month too. I'll throw up some pictures here to show you, and then just feel free to message me if you want to know more about anything. I love talking about all this stuff. So our local public radio station, WBEZ, they put out this fall bucket list. And I saw that and I just thought, you know what, we're going to do some things this fall. We're going to try to do as many things as we can. So we did a whole bunch. So we were at the Auditorium Theater downtown and we got to see the Chicago Philharmonic. They were playing the entire score of the Ghostbusters movie. Like while they were showing the movie, the orchestra was playing it live. That was really fun. We went apple picking and we were trying to get to one orchard that was just so crowded. So we ended up driving to another one, which is one that we ended up having been at before the pandemic. And they had the kind of apples we really liked there too, the Empires. So that was really good. We got a whole bunch of apples. We've been enjoying a lot of apples. I made it to a pumpkin farm and got a whole bunch of gourds. I went and gourd crazy, as I told you in my last video. I didn't bring all of them to show you, but I did bring one because it's just so pretty. Isn't that coloration just so gorgeous? Oh, those pretty colors. I just love these. They're like they're like the little statues of nature. I just love having them around. And when we do our Halloween decorations, we'll put these out. What else did we do? Our town, it does some like very cute small town kind of things for Halloween. Of course, there's trick-or-treating on Monday, but they do these derby races. So my partner and I, Steve, we didn't participate, but we lined the roadside to watch them. So they have like teams of people that dress in group Halloween costumes, and then you have this wooden derby car that's looks like a coffin basically, and you race other teams that are also dressed up. So it's just kind of a silly small town thing that we did, they do here, and it was fun. We entered our town's scarecrow competition. So we have a scarecrow out front. We're going to see how that one does in the contest. We were at a cider and ale festival at the Morton Arboretum, which is our big arboretum for like the Chicagoland area. That was really lovely. It was like, the weather here has been exceptional. This has been just the perfect autumn. Beautiful clear blue skies, warm weather like 50s to 60s, and light breezes. Like peak autumn color has been around. So probably last weekend was perfect. It's still pretty nice. I was on a hike this morning. It was really pretty out. But our arboretum does a cider and ale festival, so they have all these local breweries that set up booths like along the trails in the woods. So you could just be hiking and then you'll come across a booth where you get to taste something. That was really fun. So, what else? Oh, we attended Open House Chicago. So that's an annual event in Chicago where there are lots of buildings. Chicago's a historic city, and there are lots of buildings with architectural gems inside them that aren't always open to the public. So one weekend out of every October, they like all these sites open up so that looky-loos like us can go in and check it out. And so we saw some really cool stuff then. And then that same weekend, Catherine from Neat and Knot by the Sea, Flosstube friends, had messaged me and said, hey, is this thing near you? And she had sent me this picture of these beautiful textiles. I'll put up pictures here. I've been putting up pictures the whole time, I think. I'll try to. These beautiful, like, Day of the Dead themed textiles with lots of stitching on them. And she was like, is this near you? It says it's in Chicago. And it was at the Mexican Fine Arts Center, which is like with no traffic, it's 20 minutes from my house. So during Open House Chicago weekend, we stopped there too, and we got to check it out. And they had lots of beautiful exhibits, and this textile one was by, I'll link everything I'm saying below in case you're interested, but there's a embroidery and textile organization called Sanda, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Tsanda. They're on Instagram too, and the panel, the informative panel, I wish I had taken a picture of it at the museum and I forgot, but they said they're from Michoacana and in Mexico, and they said that it's a region known for embroidery and cross stitch, but with machine embroidery, with more and more machine produced embroidery, like mass production, they feel like generation after generation people are losing those talents. So they are an organization trying to like revive that. So that was really cool. Thank you, Catherine, for sending that. That was an unexpected visit, but really worth visiting. That museum was fantastic. So that was our October. And I stitched. I have 2 finishes. I got Stitchy Kindness. We just have so much to talk about. So thank you for listening to I actually had a life this month. Thank you for listening to me talk about it. Okay, shall we start with some Stitchy... Oh! Well, I'll bring it up. It's part of Stitchy Kindness, so I'll bring it up. Okay, so let me show you the first thing I got. So my dear Stitchy friend Sarah made this... What are we calling these? Like a stand-up thing? Look at how that beautiful yellow on the back. It has a ribbon here. But anyway, the star of the show is, of course, the stitching. So let me tell you what this is. So the pattern is Autumn Puns by Stitchy Prose. It's on a 32 count French lace linen by Witchelt. Go Sarah for stitching on Witchelt. That is not my first pick of fabrics. Autumn Garden thread pack. Oh, it's the Autumn Garden thread pack. You've been seeing this since either Expo or Market, whichever one it was in August. You know, there was the Cottage Garden threads and these colors that were being sold as a pack. And I've been very curious to see how these look. So I think that's pretty amazing. The colors are beautiful. There's nice variegation in there. This is just lovely. So thanks, Sarah, for thinking of me. Sarah had watched my obsession about me talking about my obsession with gourds in the last video, and then stitched this for me. And then another friend who clearly heard me and professed my love for gourds was Anna Aguayo, who is PeruvianFlair, and she crocheted me some gourds. Aren't these just the cutest things you've ever seen? And such beautiful colors too. And so these are, she had mentioned that the yarns are from India, and they're beautiful. Like these coral, I don't know if my camera's going to catch it, but there's like a coral pink right in here. That is actually a color of pumpkins. There are these pink or like coral pumpkins that are going around this season. They are so pretty. I didn't get one because we just have the squirrels have been too crazy. We haven't put out any pumpkins or anything, but that color just matches that perfectly. So love those too. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Anna, for thinking of me. Both Sarah and Anna and so many of you were so kind to have attended the Stitch and Chat on October 1st. Doesn't that seem like ages ago? It seems like light years before now. But we have Maryam, Marumi Crafts, and I held a Stitch and Chat. We had been doing a fundraiser for Pakistan flood relief, and we had that Stitch and Chat on October 1st. So we had some of our stitchy friends there, like Anna and Sarah, and a number of you joined, and thank you so much for doing that, because I won't speak for Maryam. Everybody knows Maryam, but I know I'm pretty like small potatoes in the Flosstube world, so for people to come out and support that was a big deal. And for people to care about craftivism and things like that is a big deal too. So thank you so much. And to continue kind of the note of Stitchy Kindness, we had people donate items for us to give away at that Stitch and Chat. Really nice stuff. So big thank yous to D's 20 Stitches, who donated some patterns. And then Jacob, also from Modern Folk Embroidery, donated patterns. And then I will throw a picture up here of what Angela from Color and Cotton, who, you know, my like obsession with color and cotton threads and fabrics. I just on a whim reached out to her to see if she'd be willing to just like throw together a few green flosses, green as one of the colors on the Pakistan flag. So I was just wondering, you know, would you be able to throw together like a few and be willing to donate just a few little flosses? She came up with this beautiful palette of all these different green flosses, and then she said, well, they can't travel alone, so whoever the winner is will also get this fabric, this green fabric. So big thank you to Angela too for taking the time to put that together and being willing to do it, and to everybody who either participated or donated stuff to give away. It's a big thing. It's a big thing that you've done that, so thank you for that. Okay, I have two finishes. Shall we look at them? Actually, I just want to straighten them out a little bit, and then I'm going to be right back with you. Okay, everyone. So, two finishes. So, just check this out. What do you think of that? I'll bring it closer, although I'm not really sure how zoomed in, you know, how clear it will be when I zoom in. It might not be. So, if you saw my last video, you saw this just about finished. This is Marigold by ModCross. This is, again, my stitchy friend Sarah, who is ModCross on Etsy. And Sarah took a picture of a marigold in her garden and then created this, basically it's a full coverage, it's a small full coverage pattern based on that. Doesn't it look fantastic? Like the farther away, like it's like pixel art, the farther away you look at it. It almost looks like a photo. It's so pretty, I can't stop staring at it. So this is on 32 count woodland by Picture This Plus. I really enjoy stitching on Picture This Plus fabrics. 32 count, and it's using DMC. They're the called for DMC threads. I don't remember how many there are, but I want to say it's between like 7 and 9 colors. So there aren't that many colors in this pattern. But you can see when you look close that there are different gradients going on. So it's just kind of subtle differences from one color to another. And I just totally love this pattern, and I can't wait. Sarah is working on a companion piece that's a pansy, so it also started out as a flower in her garden, and that one, of course, pansies will have more like purples and pinks in them. I cannot wait to stitch on it. This project has rekindled my interest. Oh, I didn't bring it. Well, I'll show you later. I actually pulled out, I have a big full coverage piece that's a picture of my partner Steve's bike that I put into Pictopat, which is it just takes photos and pixelizes them to turn them into cross stitch patterns. Then it creates the symbols and the DMC color chart for you so that you could stitch it up. So that one's a really big full coverage piece. I actually took that out and started working on it because I just found so much joy working on this. And this wasn't scary at all for a full coverage piece. And it just, yeah, it just worked out, and I'm so happy about it. I love it so much. So this will eventually go on the wall. I just want the companion piece to go with it because I think I'll frame them the same way. So Sarah's actually had Pansy will have to wait a little bit because Sarah's had a really busy month because she put out new patterns this month. Have you all been to ModCross on Etsy and seen? It's a frog pattern. It's our cross stitch frog. It's a frog pattern, and then she's got this beautiful font, and she stitched it in this like amazing orange. And I should know what color orange it is because Sarah was model stitching this at StitchCon this summer, and I know she told me it's like maybe Classic Colorworks paprika. I'm sure, Sarah, you'll correct me in the comments, but anyway, it's just so beautiful. And then there are some little smalls that are related to the frog that go with it, so it's really beautiful. I know how much work, like having Dee and Jacob and even Angela donate stuff during that stitch and chat. I recognize that it's a lot to ask for. You're giving so much of yourself when you design, and someone like Sarah, my stitchy friend Sarah, it has a full-time job. She has 2 full-time jobs. She's a mom and a farmer. So to, on top of that, do this model stitching, which itself could be a full-time job, she's given a lot of herself, and I think all designers do. So we see you and appreciate you, Sarah. Anyway, this is, again, Marigold by ModCross on Etsy. You can find her patterns on Etsy. Okay, I have another finish. Can you believe I have two finishes? So this one I was working on because I was part of the group of stitchers that was raising money for the marathon for MMIWG2S. Uh, it was a fundraiser for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'll list. I'm at Daybreak Stitchery on Instagram, but I've been posting up my pledge for that. So most people have like stitching pledges that they do for that fundraiser. They raise a certain amount of money, but also pledge to stitch a certain number of hours. My pledge was only 20 hours, but that 20 hours was meant to be listening to Indigenous voices while I stitch. So I haven't quite made it yet. I'm on like, I think I've done 12 hours maybe from that. But I was also during that my pledge, I wanted to stitch on pieces that represented pre-colonial cultures too. So let me just get to it already. Check this out. So this is, let me hold it up straight. There we go. Chimù birds, and it's by PeruvianFlair, who is also on Etsy. This is my friend Anna. From Ana Aguayo. She's Ana C. Aguayo on Instagram. So I'll link her and Sarah and everybody else below. Why can't I straighten it out? There we go. And this was so fun to stitch, and it's just mesmerizing to look at. Oh yeah, you're seeing the color there too. Do you see how it's kind of purpley? This is DMC 154. It's actually that, you know, DMC, did I bring some? You know what it is? It's that like wine colored DMC. It's so pretty. It's a dark, like, I think the official name is Very Dark Grape. I've been using it in a whole bunch of stuff. So yay, it shows up. I think I finally got my lighting sorted out down here in the basement. So that's DMC 54. Isn't that kind of mesmerizing? You just stare at it, the repetition of it. It is really easy to stitch because so what I did was I stitched, like, let's say this much of it along here, and then all of that just repeated. Once you get the hang of the motif, it just repeats. So, love that. I need someone to like pour over it to make sure I didn't miss something. I think I did a pretty good job. I went through and caught, like, for example, the birds, a couple of the eyes were missing in some places, so I think I caught everything. Hopefully. So this fabric is from a grab bag by Color and Cotton. I think it's probably, there was a color they were making for a while that was papaya, and they also did a cantaloupe for a while. So I'm kind of wondering if it's one of those. But it's this really vivid bright orange, and it has like some yellow undertones to it. I love it. It would be so tempting to make like a huge, just like a huge piece with like 4 of these put together. I think that would look so pretty. Like some kind, it would be like a tapestry almost or something. One day, I think one day I'll come back to it and try that because I really enjoyed stitching on this. This fabric that I chose, it's too small to have 4 of them on there like that because it's kind of a tall, it's not quite square, it's a little bit taller. I could have done one next to it. I might still add another one next to it. I'm not sure. We'll see. So thank you, Sarah and Anna, for these great patterns. They were really, really, really good fun to stitch. Okay, I have 2 whips, but I have to grab one of them upstairs because I was stitching on it just today. So let me do that, and I'll check right back in with you, and we'll talk about a couple of whips. Okay, so what are we doing? We're talking about whips. If you want, I forgot to mention, for Marathon for MMIWG2S, you can donate to anyone who is involved in that project. Please do. It's going to a really good cause. It's been very informative listening to different Indigenous voices this month and just hearing concerns from those communities. And you can also find out, if you go to my Instagram page, every time I've been posting about what I've been listening to, I list those resources in my posts. And you can also just ask me if you want to hear some Indigenous voices and you're curious about what you want to, what there is out there to listen to, let me know. I found like there's a really great documentary on Amazon. There's a lot of television. I think probably my favorite that has come out of this is The Woman of Size podcast by Jana Schmieding. And she's an Indigenous woman, and she just talks about body positivity. Like, how do we reprogram our minds to accept all body types and to not be judgmental of how people look based on their body type? And it's one of the few things that I feel like is like, I think intersectional is the word we call it. It's like she's Indigenous, but she doesn't feature only Indigenous voices. She features, you know, people of color who are also people of size, people from different cultures, people who are queer. So we get to hear all these different perspectives of how, you know, being judged for body type affects all these different people. So that's my go-to. I've been listening to it in the car on the way home from work, and I love her. I love listening to her, and it's been very informative. So that's probably my go-to resource that has come out of this. But let me know if you want to know about anything I've been watching or seeing for that, and you can also check my Instagram posts for that. Okay, I have 2 whips, and then like a whole bunch of new starts as usual. So, okay, so I told you I was stitching on pre-colonial works representing pre-colonial cultures as part of this pledge, my stitching pledge for the Craftivism fundraiser. So I made a whole bunch of progress on Kain Kapal. So Kain Kapal, this is by JavaCrossStitch on Etsy, and a Kain Kapal is an Indonesian ship cloth, is what it is, and it's usually traditionally woven, but the designer created a cross stitch pattern based on a sample textile, an old textile, and it's supposed to represent it's a textile that was used by maritime cultures. So there's a ship imagery on it, and there will also be some sea creatures coming in down here, but it's also got cultural and kind of religious significance too, because it's supposed to represent like the passage through before, during, and after life, movement through time. So I'm so close. I got really close. So this was the sale that I started in January, and our idea was to do like it's Kain Kapal sale, and we were going to do like a section every month. So really the only months left would have been November and December, which were supposed to be the 2 bottom borders. This should have all been done by now already. These were all like summer stitching. These should have been stitched up over the summer months. And then October was this border, November and December. But I went ahead and did the borders because they're really easy. And, or no, this border. I'm almost done with this border. So I have to go back now and fill in. There are like a few more people. It's supposed to be representing reality and fantasy a little bit because it's based on Indonesian mythology. So there are some kind of humanoid sort of, figures represented, but also some that are kind of mythical. So that's what it is. And I won't be able to read it because I'm recording on my phone today, but I saved, so the PDF pattern for this, I think it's Kain Kapal 3. There's a Kain Kapal 3 and a Kain Kapal 4, which is all red, and I don't remember which one is which. I always forget. Oh, this is on Fiber on a Whim. Brown sugar is the fabric, and it's using the called for DMC. What was I about to say? Okay, so the PDF from JavaCrossStitch has like 2 pages of narrative, like cultural information and background on these textiles. But there's a weird thing, the way it's formatted, and it's in Indonesian, which is no big deal. I could put it into like a Google Translate, but when you slide over it to copy the text, it's not letting me, like the images that are embedded in kind of get in the way, so it's not letting me properly copy the text to be able to see what it said there. But I was able to, so I was kind of painstakingly going through like sentence by sentence and copying each one separately before I just got tired of doing that. So there was some really interesting stuff. Like part of the text talked about the origins of the colors that were used in the original weavings. They were all natural materials. I will try, whenever I get close to the next time I post on Instagram with this, I will try to look up some of that information that was in that translate. It's on a document on my phone, and I don't want to look it up now and reset how I've set my phone to record. But I'll share that with you. It's really interesting. information about, like, not just the pattern, but the resource, you know, the source materials, the materials used. So that again was Kain Kapal by JavaCrossStitch on Etsy. Well, in plans, I'm going to talk about how I want this next year to not be any new starts, but I really want to do the other Kain Kapal, which is all red, so we will talk about that. Okay, the other whip that I have, so this is the one I was talking about a little bit earlier. I'm doing this, this is interesting. Like, see, when I look at this, okay, so this is a picture of my partner Steve's bike. He's sitting up there watching college football, so he's here. But I took a picture of his and I put it into Pic2Pat. It's PIC2PAT. It's picture to pattern. So you can put in a picture and it will pixelize it and then make it a chart, basically, if you're going to download it. And this is very new for, I do not do full coverage stitching usually, so this is very new for me. But between working on Marigold, Sarah's pattern, and then also, I don't know if you probably did RDC, but Darling Bluebell came back to do a floss tube after a really long time being gone. And, you know, she does a lot of full coverage. So that just kind of struck something in me. I said, I need to do this, get back to this and chip away at it. So I worked like in this blue area here. Basically, did I bring it down? No. I just pulled as many of the blues as I could from my stash that were called for in that Pic2Pat pattern, and I just started chipping away at this. So I will try to put a picture in. This is basically a picture of my partner Steve's bike. These are shadows right here, and this is the actual tire of his bike that will come in, and then this is the blue. He's in front of a mural. And so it created, the photo he took created this really cool shadows, both of his bike and then like just the sun shining down on that mural. So I wanted to stitch on that. I loved all the bright colors, and then I love that he takes a lot of photographs with his bike in them. So that's what this is. And it's challenging, but doesn't seem impossible or frustrating yet. I'm enjoying that. And I may even want to include, I'm thinking for 2023, if I want to try to do like something where I visit this every month, like try to dedicate a Saturday a month or something, or even maybe trying one of those, you know, when people do like the one thread a day or something like that. I think it might be better to do as like a one day a month, because it really feels like you have to like study the pattern. I started it. Did I start it on? I'm not using Pattern Keeper. I haven't been using Pattern Keeper on it. So I need to just print a black and white copy and highlight. But this part that I've done so far, I haven't been keeping any stitch tracking on it, which is dangerous. I need to do something. I need to print it out and start highlighting it before I mess something up. So yeah, I will definitely come back to this. So this is on 25 count easy grid. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm using tent stitch, which is, I'm using 2 strands of DMC, but I'm only doing half the X on each one. And the coverage is pretty decent. I mean, you can see a little bit of white in that, like this part of the shadow right here. You can see little pops of white behind there, which on another pattern might bother me, but it's just so, this tent stitch is so easy. Like it's not crowded or tight. And it takes half the time. You just zip through because you're only doing half the stitch. So the ease of it is outweighing like my perfection with fabric coverage, and I'm okay with whatever's showing through. I have a few little confetti things to do in here that I'm missing, but other than that, it's coming along. So yeah, I hope to make progress on this, and I'm pretty excited to see how that goes. It looks more like something when I look at it through the video than it does. Like I've been staring at it all morning being like, it doesn't look like anything, but I think that's just how full coverage stitching goes probably. It doesn't really look like much until all of a sudden one day it just does. Okay, so those were whips. So let me get together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I have 4 new starts. That's just a thing. That's how this goes around here. I just start everything. So, but what I've done is I've also pulled out, like, I made some little notes on different tangents, and then I've also pulled out those projects that relate to the tangents. So I just have like a whole mess of stuff to show you here. Let me just get a couple things sorted out, and I'm going to be right back. Okay, new starts. So I wanted to join Dee and Sebastian. So D's 20 Stitches, and Sebastian, who is B's and T's Stitching. And they were doing this Crowtober Sale, hashtag Crowtober Sale, where you just stitch on a crow. And so I was going through patterns, and I pulled out. I have 3 patterns that have crows in them. I probably do, like, my PDF patterns are very unorganized. I probably got stuff there too, but I was just going through my paper patterns. And I did pull out this one from Erica Michaels, this Be Like a Crow, but it just seemed like a lot was going on, and I wanted to do something a little bit easier. I'll come back to it though, because it's really fun. It says, be like a crow, collect shiny things, hop happily down the street for no apparent reason, scream loudly when you see your friends. It is pretty cute, but it just seemed like a lot to do, so I put that one will be put on hold. But, kind of unexpectedly, I came across this one in my stash, which is by Heartstring Samplery, and it's called Dream Journal Gothic. And it's a quote by Edgar Allan Poe. But what happened was, I got this one, and I got another one. It's like a series, so this is another one. This is a George Carlin. This is Dream Journal Sci-Fi. And what I liked about these two, when I saw them, was not really the quotes, although I do like stitching letters and quotes, but I was looking at the 2 people with the thought bubbles, and I thought, wouldn't that be fun to like stitch them together like this, almost like they're having a conversation. So that's what I've had in mind for this one, and I hadn't ever started it, but then one of them, this one has the crow in it, so I said, okay, it's time to start this one. So that's what it's kind of envision that. So it'll be on the same fabric. They'll be looking at each other. It's almost like they're talking, or maybe trying to read each other's minds or something, because their mouths aren't moving. But anyway, I got a pretty good start to this one, because that's the one there with the crow. And so here's what it looks like so far. So there you go. There's the picture, there's the stitching. So I'm almost done with everything in the bubble. There are a few more items. There's like those branches at the bottom. That guitar is really cute, isn't it? There's like a teacup. This is probably a raven now that I think about it, because this is Poe, a Poe quote. It doesn't, I haven't read it. There's a whole thing to read that I haven't read. I don't have all the information on this pattern, but anyway, so I think this is going to be super cute. I'm stitching it. This is one of several things I'm going to show you today where I've been stitching 1/1, which is not something I usually do on linen, but here we go. So this is a 28 count. It's Vintage Country Mocha. And, or is it? Hold on. It might be a Picture This Plus doubloon. It could be a Picture This Plus doubloon, or it's a vintage. I think it is doubloon, actually, because I know Vintage Country Mocha is just on one side, right? Isn't that printed on one side? So this is probably doubloon by Picture This Plus. So I'm doing it 1/1 on 28 count, and it's actually pretty okay. I don't know if it's because the fabric is such a light color. I also have been like really putting the light close to the fabric, and that helps a lot. But it's been okay. This part down here, I would say it's not hard. It's just not that fun to do because there's just so much fill in. So I need to maybe like outline the face and then fill it in or something. I'm gonna have to see. I think it'll look really cool once both faces are in. So this was Crowtober Sale, and then I'm going to continue it next month because I think I'm going to use this as my piece for a black sampler November, which like last year I didn't really think about doing, but because I don't stitch samplers. But Jacob said it could be anything that's just a dark color. It doesn't even have to be black, because he was talking in his video about how true black was a hard color to find in nature, to be able to reproduce via natural dyes in nature. So a lot of people just stitched in very dark reds or very dark like blues or purples, or browns. So I think this is black, but I will continue it maybe for that and just see how far I can get. I'm kind of curious to see how they look with like the 2 bubbles next to each other. I'll show you again. This is what the other one is going to look like. So it has like a larger teacup. It has a little bottle with a whale in it, scissors, a watering can, maybe like a stork or something, a heron, a mermaid. And I can't tell if the people are identical in each one and just mirror images. They kind of look like they might be, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, that was kind of fun because I used the hashtag and posted it on Instagram, and then Beth Twist, who is the designer for Heartstring Samplery, said something nice about it, like, oh, what a good idea. And so that's kind of fun. That was like, oh, I was gonna pull it and show you today. That I got super excited when I was working on Matter in Hand. Let me see, is it close by here? Yeah, I have it right here actually. I'm gonna show you. This summer when I was working on a Jeanette Douglas, my first Jeanette Douglas pattern, Matter in Hand. Do I have a picture? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't prep this one for you, but I want to show you what it is. Jeanette Douglas left me a really nice comment too, because I'm doing this with color changes. So this is the pattern. You know this pattern? Am I holding it right side up? No. Matter in Hand by Jeanette Douglas, and it's got all these like cross stitch references in it. It's so cute. And so I'm doing color changes on it. I'm using mostly like white, blue, and black. Let me get it a little smaller and show you. I don't know what this fabric is, but I'm using some DMC, and then the white is a color in cotton that I'm not remembering. I'm not prepared really to talk about this that much. I didn't look up all this stuff. But my point was, I brought this up because Jeanette Douglas left me a really nice comment telling me that the colors actually looked really nice or something like that. And that's that's a really nice thing to do, because sometimes you put your stitching out there, and I change, if you know me, I change up colors and fabrics all the time. I want it to be something that I will actually put up on my wall, and sometimes I really like the design, but the colors just don't speak to me, you know, or they don't go with anything that I would actually put up. So I change stuff all the time, and you never know how a designer is going to take that. I think most are pretty okay with it, but you just never know for sure, and Jeanette Douglas is kind of a big name, so it was really cool to hear from her too. So anyway, that was nice of Beth Twist to say something nice about it too. So that was the Dream Journal series by Heartstring Samplery. Speaking of, so I do have something I can show you. Also, we're gonna get distracted by, look at the top of this gourd that Anna made me. Isn't that so cute? It looks so real, doesn't it? Like that little top bit. I got a little distracted by that. So cute. Okay. When Jacob was talking about all those alternate colors, like how you can use like really deep blues or browns or reds, like any kind of dark tones for black sampler November stitching. It doesn't have to be black. I was thinking about what else I might want to do, and I'm going to stick with this because I started it this month, but it's on my list for someday. Sulky in their 50 weight line. So 50 weight threads are much thinner. The Sulky that we use for cross stitch is 12 weight, and then they have increasing weights. Like I think they have like is it a 25 maybe? They have a 30 and a 40 and a 50. In the 50 weight line, which is probably super thin for sewing maybe, they have beautiful, deep dark shades of colors. That color range, some colors are similar, the 50 weight colors and the 12 weight colors, there's some that are similar, but there are a lot of them that are different. The 50 weight line has a whole different color range. And I thought, oh my goodness, one day I think I want to try some of those 50 weights. I want to see how many strands it would take to be able to cross stitch with them, because I don't know how thin, I need to look at it. I don't know how thin they would be, or if do any of you know, have you used 50 weight thread to cross stitch? How many does it take to do that? Would I need like 6 strands, or would 2 do it, or would 4 do it? But anyway, I thought, oh, it'd be great, kind of, because Black Sampler November is Jacob's hashtag, you know, that I think he's the one who started it. I have a pattern of his that I started, and I've showed this off, I think, in like my second or third Flosstube, really early. I had put together some kind of Scandinavian sampler of his, and then his winter borders sampler. And I want to try that one day with all, like, a variety of dark colors by Sulky. So like have one part of a border be like a deep, deep blue and have one part be a deep, deep red, and just like make it a whole thing so that it looks black from far away. But when you look close up, it's all different shades. That's an idea for the future. But in the meantime, I can show you in one of my early videos, I was actually stitching on those borders patterns. They look like this. And it's super tiny because this is actually a piece of quilting fabric. It's I don't know quilting terminology, so I'm not sure, but it's by French Quarter, and it was on clearance at 123 Stitch way back when. And when I looked at it, when it came in the mail, I thought I was going to use it for finishing fabric, but I just totally see the holes in it for stitching. So I just started stitching 1/1 on it. And I don't think my camera is going to zoom in to show you. But it just looks amazing. And I don't know how I pulled this off. But although even now I can see, probably with really good light, I could do it again. Keep it going. And I had used, this was a whole thing. I had gotten this fabric and then these Gutermann cotton threads all on clearance at 123 Stitch. So I just thought, these kind of go well together. And they look kind of Christmassy. So I was stitching those winter patterns by Jacob. But now I kind of want to try them with those dark sulkies. I think that'd be really pretty too. Anyway, here's what that looks like for now. And I'll someday come back to that too and give it a proper finish. Maybe I might even just square it out and make it an ornament or something. Easy to finish. Okay, so that's for Black Sampler November. Oh, I'm excited to show you the next thing. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything in my notes. Dream Journal was with DMC 310, 28 count. Yeah, I think I told you everything I wanted to tell you with that. Okay, so next start is a start that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So the first person who finished this one that I think I remember seeing was Julie, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World. She finished, oh, I can't believe I didn't bring it here. Okay, let me just show you the stitching. Then I'll hold it up while I tell you about it. Do you recognize this? Catherine, well, Catherine from Neat and Knot. I started it. So this is And a Forest Grew by Rosewood Manor. And Julie, Kansas City Girl, was the first person who I remember seeing who finished it. I think actually it was her pledge for marathon for MMIWG2S last year. Her 100 hours that she stitched was on this, and she completed it on a 40 count. It was really beautiful. And I thought, I gotta stitch that someday. It's really pretty. And then Catherine, who is with Victoria and their Neat and Knot by the Sea. Catherine's been stitching it with a couple of people, Spectrum Stitcher, I think, and some Patchy Pony maybe. And the hashtag they're using for it is, don't tell me, Catherine, hashtag with what you have, Sal. Because Catherine's doing it at least. She's using only stuff from Stash to stitch it. So the pattern has lots and lots of DMC colors, but she's just kind of making up her own. But I think she and I have that in common. We just we're okay with breaking from the pattern a little bit. So that's what I've done too. So I just grabbed a whole bunch of greens and browns, and then just a couple of pinky reds for accents. And that's all I'm going to use. I'm just going to repeat the same colors. I'm going to try to get as far as I can with just those few colors. These are all kind of a mishmash of colors. Here, I'll hold them up. This is what I've picked out so far. I'll even show them to you. So this is a Fiberlicious, which I ordered ages ago. I got this, I think in 2021, and I hadn't been doing anything with it. It's French Roast. I think it came in some kind of coffee themed, a little pack. This is Truffles, which I absolutely love. Beautiful, like a bronzy orange brown. What else do I have here? I have a Color in Cotton. This is Pine Tree. And then Classic Colorworks Steamed Broccoli. And then the best part, DMC 3787, which the description of it says it's some kind of brown, like a gray brown, but it is totally green when you stitch it up. And then I have a couple of like these pinky reds too, 221, DMC 221, and then DMC 3830. 3830? 3830. But let me show you. So this green that's coming around the quote here, that's that 3787. It is just so pretty. You know how that happens? You just like have a DMC that's not on your radar at all, and then once you stitch it with it, you're like, where have you been all my life? So pretty. It's like a silver green. That's what it is. It's like a silvery green. It's just beautiful. I could totally envision doing some kind of monochromatic thing with that. I love it. So fabric is Picture This Plus. It's Cyprium. It's a 36 count. And that and all the threads are just stuff for my stash, so we're just going to see how this goes. And then I'll just look at each motif as it comes up. And I've been using like pictures of people's finishes on Instagram as a guide, just trying to check on tone. Like if there's a motif that uses a really, really pale green, I'll just try to find, you know, I'll pull one from my stash, one that's close enough, and I'll use that. So why did I start this now? Because I'd been putting it off because I knew that I wanted to stitch a quote by Greta Thunberg, climate activist, Greta Thunberg. And I didn't quite have the right quote from her. I follow her on Instagram, and she posted something recently that I just read. This month I read it, and I thought, yes, that's the quote I want to stitch. I don't have the whole quote for you here, but I can try to read. This is showing up backwards on my camera, my screen in front of me, but I'll try to read this first part of it. So it's one of the things I love about Greta is that she is very straightforward and calls people out, and she is often angry and expresses things with a sense of urgency because there is. And I really empathize with that, like urgency, the rage that comes out of the sense of urgency when you're in a world where people do not take things as seriously as you wish they would. And I think I experienced that being an educator. I see that and experience that in education all the time. I feel like we're not having the conversations we need to be having to do the best for all of our kids. And nobody else seems to have the sense of urgency that I feel like we need to have to create better and safer spaces for our kids. And I think Greta like totally channels that same like frustration and sense of urgency about it. So that's where this is coming from, okay? Our so-called leaders still think they can bargain with, what does it say? Physics and negotiate with the laws of nature. They speak to flowers and forests. I don't have the rest of the quote. I should have written it down. You know what I'll do? I'll put a screen. I have a screenshot of Greta her post from Instagram, so I'll just throw that up here and give you a sec to read it. I wish I remembered it. Something basically about how they like use their business terminology as if they're like talking to nature, with like showing them their reports and their figures and their numbers, when really they're just fools for doing that, for talking that way and not realizing what the real language of nature is. So I love it. I love the fieriness of it. It's going in the middle. I'm pretty much winging it with stitching this font. So this font is actually from that Heartstring Samplery piece that I showed you earlier. So there's a font, it's the font that was used to stitch the quotes by Poe and George Carlin. So I'm just using that font here. It's a pretty long quote. I got a little worried that it wouldn't fit because I didn't do much measuring or anything beforehand. So we're at the end of this last line here, we're at the halfway point. So the rest of it needs to fit down here. So I started making them a little bit closer. So that's why there's like a large gap here, but then I tightened it up a little bit here, which might look a little odd, but I'm really okay with it. I mostly just want the quote to fit. I want the whole thing to fit. So anyway, that's what that is. And I'm really enjoying that. 36 count linen is really easy to stitch on. I want to see if this color looks different when I hold it back. It's really pretty modeling on it. I like it a lot. There'll be a lot of leftover. It's a larger piece. So anyway, that's And a Forest Grew, and it's by Rosewood Manor. I want to show you, I pulled up, speaking of getting enabled by Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, I pulled out something I want to work on next month. I didn't work on it. This is not a whip from this month, but I'll just show you, since I'm pulling out some of my Halloween and fall stitching to work on this month. This is the All Souls Vierlanden by Quiltify Designs. And it's stitched up super quick, this part of it. And basically, like, this border right here, that's the halfway point. So there's not much of it left to do. So that's why I was thinking maybe I had to leave this out and work on it. This is on needle and floss fabric. It's called Pickwick, and it really does look like newsprint. It's really, really pretty. Gray. It's like a... how would we describe it? It's beige with a black modeling on it. Very, very pretty. And then the floss is Sulky. I want to say it's $11.89, but it's dark chestnut is the color. Isn't that just the dreamiest color? So pretty. But anyway, seeing Julie's in one of her whip parades, she had finished this, and she had used a Belle Soie silk on it that was like a dark plum or something. But I just love that, how hers turned out. So of course I started this one after that too. There's another thing that I did. Technically, this is my 2-year Flosstube anniversary. I just realized it yesterday while I was taking all my notes for this. I owe you an apology because I do not have any giveaways ready for the, in my mind, I thought I'm going to do giveaways at every anniversary, but then I was working on getting the giveaways ready for the Stitch and Chat on October 1st, and it just totally slipped my mind. I have nothing ready for you for today, so I apologize. At some point, we'll do like a surprise giveaway. Now, where was I going with that? Oh, so thinking about 2-year Flosstube anniversary, I have this habit that I picked up from Julie, Kansas City girl. She said that every so often she will rewrite her whole whips list. She, like me, has a lot of whips. She has a ton. I wrote mine out and it's at 109 right now, which is a lot. But it was really good because I looked at the last one I had written and I was able to cross items. I actually finished items off that list, and then there were like a couple I decided I don't want to do anymore. So it's just like a good kind of regrounding of what do you have, what are you going to work on, and then that's also, I mean, I'll share more in plans about it, but I'd like to really try to knock items off that list if I can. Anyway, moving along. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. So, the next new start is the new one by Maryam, who's Marumi Crafts. And you just have to go watch Maryam's video to get the story on what this is all about. It's very moving. It's happening now. It involves culture, it involves hope, it involves light over darkness. Just go check out Maryam's video and you'll get the message behind this. So the pattern is called Sepide, and I am starting a sale for this. It's Sepide Rising Sale. So please join in if anyone wants to stitch on this. Choose your colors and just join us. This is stitched 1/1 on 32 count. It's Ultra Blue Violet by XJU Design. And as soon as I finished Chimù birds, which also used, this is DMC 154, I just went right into this and just wanted to see what it looked like, and I like that. So you won't be able to tell exactly what's going on here, so let me show you. This right here will be the skirt, and then these are the rays of the sun, so the mountains will be here. And then these bars right here are arms, and there's an elbow right here. Well, I haven't stitched it yet, but the elbow will go right in there to connect these two parts of the arm. So I can't possibly do justice to the beautiful video that Maryam made talking about this. So go check that out if you haven't already. And if you have, maybe rewatch it before you get started stitching it, and, you know, choosing your colors. Maryam talked a little bit about what colors she's choosing. I think she's stitching on a dark fabric. I'm using a light fabric and choosing a dark motif. So join us on that. We'd love to have you. Okay, one last new start. So last month I showed you Autumn Montage by JanLynn, and I had bought both Autumn and Winter Montage used on eBay, and they both came with all of the threads, which is good. It hadn't been pre-stitched or anything. It had not been used. I mean, it was used, but it had not been worked on yet, which was good. So this is the pattern I'm talking about by JanLynn. Let me hold it right side up. Do I have it right? I did have it right side up. So it's pretty. It's just like a lot of natural, like winter nature motifs. Berries, holly, there's some mistletoe there, and like those decorative motifs. So just like with Autumn Montage, I'm stitching that one on a mottled fabric. I wanted to do the same with this, but I wanted to put it on green. I wanted to have all that, so like all this white space, all this white space. I wanted that all to be green, and I wanted to find a green that was not already used in this kit. So here's what I've got. This is Mystic Fabrics. It is Burnie is the color. And that's what I decided to go with. So it was between this and then I have, I had Ada. I had a piece of jade, picture this plus jade. And I just thought the modeling on this might be a little bit better. Jade has a little bit of modeling too, but it's much lighter because it's on Ada. So I thought this might just fill up those spaces in a more interesting way. So that's what I went with. So there's one little leaf. So like these leaves at the top here, that's what's going on here. It's one of the ones, which one is it? It's like one of these ones here, I think, because this is in the center. So far so good. I think it stands out pretty well against this fabric. It's not blending in. I laid out all the colors on top of both, on top of the jade and on top of Burnie, and it looked good on both. So I think this will be the way to go. There's a lot of like full coverage stitching on it, but I think the give of the linen will be good for that. So hope to stitch on this as, you know, winter, as we transition from autumn to winter. I think I'll try to stitch a little bit more on that. Is that all of my new starts? Yes. I will be right back. I'm just going to show you a couple other patterns that I pulled, like whips that I pulled to work on for plans, and then that'll be it. I'll be right back. Okay, plans. So I was telling you earlier that I wrote out my whips list after some time. It's my, you know, it's been a while since I've done that. I really like that practice. It kind of helps you see how much you have and reminds you of things you need to work on, so, or might want to work on. So I think one of the things I want to do is I'm also kind of, I've been watching all these videos where people are already starting to talk about their 2023 plans. I don't really tend to make too many plans because I don't stick to them, but I would really genuinely like to stitch some things that are on my list. So I was thinking I might make copies of my list, my whips list, and just like put them in strategic places in my home. So I'll have pictures of them on my phone. I'll have some, like, I have my whips boxes over here to the side, so I'll just put copies of them on there. I'll put copies on my kitted up box. I'll put copies like on my DMC box, just like everywhere possible. I'll put one on my fridge. I'll put one like on my end table by where I stitch, just to have constant reminders that I don't need to be starting new things, that I have like so many fantastic projects I could be choosing from to try to finish. I think that will, I'm hoping that will help me stay focused and try to chip away at those. So those are kind of long-term, not really plans, but ideas for where I want my focus to be. And then for next month, I pulled a couple things to show you, a couple of whips to show you. So these next couple days for Halloween, I am going to work on Hex Hotel by D's 20 Stitches. And I'll throw a picture, will be somewhere. I love this pattern. I love stitching on this. This is on a Fiberlicious fabric. I think it's Sunkiss. And that's DMC 310. And then this right here, this sparkly bit here is an étoile. The moon is étoile. And then I had to change some of the colors because I didn't have the called for colors in stash. which is okay because I love this. I don't remember what these colors are, but that purple and kind of seafoamy green, I think they look great. Sort of like a slimy green. Pretty happy with that. So I stitched some of the little eyes in the attic the last time, and I want to try to finish out some of this rooftop. So that'll be when I'm stitching, like tomorrow, early morning tomorrow, that'll be my stitching leading me through Halloween. I was also watching, is it Carolyn and Anna, the Curious Crafters? They had a really great episode recently, which is like a lot of fun. This October has been a great Flosstube month. I have really enjoyed, there've been a lot of stitchy chats that I've really enjoyed. Curious Crafters did a really fun one on just autumn stitching, and I like the way they kind of talk through their choices. It's two sisters, and they cross stitch, and they talk about, they also knit, and so they're very crafty. But I like the way they talk through their decisions and like what works and doesn't work. It's just good chat. It's good stitchy chat to listen to. And because of them, one of them, I don't remember if it was Carolyn or Anna, one of them finished their Quaker Pumpkins by Liz Matthews. So I took mine out as well, and I'm going to see if I can put a few stitches into it. Here's what I've got so far. I love this one. I did a sulky conversion on it though, so all these are sulky colors. I just picked some different oranges and kind of corally pinks, and I just ran with those. So what is this fabric? It's the one that Sarah also has, because we both picked it up at StitchCon, and I can never remember what it is. And every time I show this, I forget what it's called. Oh, it's All the Things. Is that by Mystic Fabrics or Fiber on a Whim? I want to say maybe Mystic Fabrics. I think it's called All the Things. So it won't be ready for Halloween, but I think I'll work on it in November now, if I can. I'll leave it out at least to work on that. That was real good fun to stitch on. Look at that. Isn't that orange? These oranges are so nice. These are different sulky oranges. Really pretty. Okay, so seeing something earlier I was going to... Oh, just really good floss tube. I made a list of some different floss tubes that I really enjoyed this month. First of all, Carly is back. Carly, who's Veggie Stitches, came back after months of being away and had like all kinds of finishes and great stuff to show. I was so excited. Carly is one of my Flosstubers who, like, you know how you have those Flosstubers where you just like drop everything and like you want to watch it? So, because it's kind of... for any of you who floss tube, I don't know if you feel this too, but you know, I've mentioned before in other videos that I started this floss tube thinking that no one was going to watch it. You know, like it was just my intent was to just do a video journal where I could keep track of my stitching. I had contented myself to, you know, I was going to be okay with that. And then people started watching, which is really cool. And I met so many cool people. And now, 2 years into this, I almost feel sometimes when I sit down to do a floss tube that it's almost like a video pen pal letter to my stitchy friends, because I really visualize you sometimes when I'm talking about things, like when I mention Catherine or Sarah or Anna or any of you, Carly. I feel so lucky to know you now, but it almost feels, and I know some of you I haven't met yet, and I hope to meet you soon, but it does genuinely feel like you're like recording a video message for someone or something once you start to get to know people on this. So Maryam, you too. Maryam, why don't we get together to stitch more often? We are very close to, we're very physically close to each other, and we don't nearly frequently enough get together to stitch. Anyway, I've been off on, floss tubes. So I really enjoyed Carly, for sure. I enjoyed Stitchman Darcy's video. He talked a lot about floss organization, and I am like Darcy. I split my DMCs across several floss boxes, and I have kind of a checkout system that I use. So if I'm pulling a DMC out of my box to kit it up with something, I'll use one of the floss cards to replace it, almost like it's like a library card, like I'm checking it out. I'll take the floss that I need, but then I'll put in a bobbin, and on that empty bobbin, I'll write in where it's kitted up. So like I took DMC 310, but I'm leaving a placeholder that says DMC 310. It's with, you know, Dream Journal Gothic or whatever it is. So then in my DMC boxes, I have all of my unused DMC organized, but then I also in there have placeholders where I can easily see what is something kitted up with. This only works if the user is consistent with the system. It's a good system. The user has not fully documented all of the DMC that has been purchased within the past 2 years. So the user, whenever she needs DMC, is now running to several different bags of stuff to look through DMC instead of just putting it all into the box and getting it organized. So that video from Darcy was like a good wake-up call to be like, oh yeah, you have a system. Get it together and you can start to use it. So that was fun. I mentioned Carolyn and Anna, the Curious Crafters. I really liked it's Sharky Stitcher is Lori. She did a really cool thing. Sharky Stitcher. She did a thing. She was kitting up some projects. She was getting ready for a trip, and so she was kitting up projects to use as like her travel projects. But then as part of that, while she was kitting it up and just kind of talking about what she was doing, she had like a Q&A session, and there was a lot of really interesting chat, like stitchy chat that came out of that. Gosh, I wish there was, I remembered. She shared some really great like travel stitchy things. Oh, because one of them might be, I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly. So one of the things she said she does is she like, I think she does this. She pre-cuts lengths of DMC knowing that she might not have access to scissors, either when she's out and about or like if she's afraid to bring good scissors or whatever it is, you know, to avoid bringing scissors while you're on a plane. She pre-cuts the lengths of DMC. And I just thought like, oh, that's a very smart idea. Because I will take, like, I'll take my stitching, you know, even to like my sister's house or to family, you know, I'll take it out. Or like when we visit, you know, any family. And sometimes you just don't have the tools you need to do all the things you want. So I felt like that was a good. So there were just like little interesting stitchy things that came up during that chat. I thought it was really nice. I enjoyed that chat. She uses really beautiful. She stitches on a lot of mirabilias, and so she uses beautiful, bright, colorful fabrics. They're really, really pretty. Anything where she's talking about fabrics is really interesting to see. Who else? I mentioned Darling Bluebell. That was really fun to catch up. And then I've been watching Stitching Faye, and I don't remember her first name. She's been doing a lot of Halloween episodes lately, so that's been kind of fun watching her Halloween stitching. I think that might be it. That's plenty. So I am getting ready. This weekend we have to set up our Halloween stuff, and we don't have Halloween candy, and we're waiting to the last minute, so that means we may not have real great selection by the time we get ready, but that's what we're working on this weekend. So anyway, thanks for hanging around for this. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for wanting to talk cross stitch. And I hope you got some stitching done too while watching. And I'm going to check in at the end of November, probably whenever, maybe Thanksgiving weekend, and do my next video then. And hopefully we'll have some cool things to talk about then too. Hope everyone's doing well, and I'm sure we'll connect at some point to talk more stitching. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you. Bye.